Hey, going back to the 90s here, what is the process? Like, is it interviewing Donna? Is it taking Mike's history scrapbook? Like, what is the process that would be to investigate?
Sure, the process would be to interview and re-interview in some cases. Some of the individuals that were interviewed in this round, they weren't asked questions about some of the new allegations because they weren't, if they had interviewed person X who didn't say anything about an issue, and then when they got to somebody else and they did say something about an issue, you want to go back and you want to ask everybody about an issue so you can get a complete conclusion or the best accurate picture that you can get there. And that's something that is somewhat exhaustive. You do have to go through a list of individuals, people that have knowledge. If this new investigation is authorized, and we're looking into a particular issue, and somebody who's being interviewed says, oh, well, I also know that John Smith knew about that, and he has information about that, then of course we would have to interview that individual. So without starting, I remember Mr. Fratelli said, this isn't going to be the Mueller investigation, and I hear you. I understand the sensitivity about the duration of it and the expenses and the resources that go into it, but I can't give you a definitive answer as to the duration.
I just don't understand why she needs to stay suspended during this process. Even if we authorize the investigation, what harm does it have? Where is the danger in maintaining the suspension?
Did you hear what Rocco said? Rocco said that they wanted to terminate our township council because Donnie couldn't come back and work with him. That in itself.
She didn't say. First off, we were instructed not to speak with her, so I haven't spoken with her in 6 weeks. At the end of the day, I don't know, that's an allegation. At the end of the day, Mike is here. He has a year appointment. So Donna's going to have to. It's the same thing I told, whether it's the engineer or the architect, people have to find a way to work together. They don't have to like each other, but they have to find a way to work together. But that's not reason for termination because she said, I don't want to work with the lawyer. At the end of the day, we're all professionals.
You've never said that? You've never said that?
That I said what?
The terminate our township administrator, our council.
Me?
Yeah.
Never.
Okay.
Never.
Gentlemen, is there a motion on the floor?
Yes.
It just, again, guys, I know we're going to be at a stalemate here, but I just want you to understand the ramifications, right? We are entering a lot of things. You are going to slow all kinds of things that have to be in motion, not having an administrator here. You want to have an investigation, that's one thing, but why continue the suspension? It is hurting the town. You are hurting the town. You want to have an investigation to all these? Fine, so be it. But why are you continuing to hurt the town? You don't have the ability to fire her, Rock. You don't have the ability to fire her, Mike. You don't. So at the end of the day, why are you trying to keep her away from helping the town?
Because I don't think she's helping the town, and I'm calling for a vote. This is going to go on all night.
But
Let's have I want a motion.
no, I figured.
Bring Donna back. Let's have a motion to bring Donna back. We have a vote.
That motion's currently before the committee. It's the one I read quite a while ago.
Let's go for a vote.
I mean, that's up to the mayor to call for the vote.
Roll call.
Mr. Bontempo?
Is this to
This
bring
is
her back or to terminate?
This is the motion to bring Ms. Vieiro back from suspension.
No.
Mr. Fratelli?
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
No.
Dr. Pascucci?
Absolutely no.
Mayor Hines?
So incredibly sad. Sad for her, I'm sad for the community, I'm sad for all the employees. It's a real disgrace. Yeah, 100% bring it back.
So my motion's on the table to expand the investigation to the additional allegations.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
That's up to the mayor to call for roll call. Do you want any discussion, Mayor?
No.
Okay.
Roll call.
I'm thinking about it. If the attorney is, I'm assuming he spent the 17.5. If we go over the 17.5 now, does that change anything?
I would put a term in the resolution that the firm will have to put a business entity disclosure statement in effect because a contract over 17.5 would require that, so
Okay.
we'll handle that. So there's a motion, I guess, to expand the scope of the investigation. How big it really has to do with the project. What happened? I mean, eventually. Roll call.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Catali?
I supported the initial investigation based on the nepotism clause. I believe this is a witch hunt by two committeemen who don't feel they get the respect that they deserve. I do find that to be inconsistent. When I served as mayor, I encourage good communication between all the committeemen. So I'm going to vote no.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
For the township, yes.
Mayor Hines?
I can't think of a bigger waste of money. Well, I can, the first 17.5, but this is just bad money after bad money. It is a disgrace for Holmdel. They should all be ashamed of themselves. No,
And you shouldn't?
whatever. What do we got next on the agenda?
For the record, I believe Committeeman Pascucci indicated he's dropping off the call, so, Rocco, you're gone, right?
I'm going first.
Okay, all right, he's still there.
Boards and committees.
I'll give you a report on recreation. Since our last meeting, I've been working with our recreation director and our infrastructure director to fine tune some of the costs associated with the recreation bond that was passed to the tune of $2.5 million. Waiting on some information to come back to us from the contractors that will be supplying material and doing work, specifically when they can start. So besides the lighting that was finally passed a few weeks ago, by next week I should have posted on the website a list of all the improvements to all the parks and fields, as well as the costs and the start dates. I had hoped to have it for today, but I'll definitely have it before the next meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Tom. Greg?
No, thank you.
Mike?
No.
The only thing I will add is that after extensive studies in regards to the fire prevention, we have a plan in motion to take the old first aid building when you're entering towards the Garden State Arts Center. It's used for DPW storage right now, and make that a new first aid building, take the current first aid building and fire, and convert that to fire only. Having two emergency services right there on the parkway in the central part of town, we believe will have the minimal distraction to other neighbors, provide immediate access to the parkway, essentially located for the town, and we've directed the architect to begin some planning.
Would that be a new building? Because the building that's currently there is,
It probably has to be knocked down.
Yeah, it
I
has
was
to be
made
knocked
aware
down,
today
so
from the engineer, there was a
certainly-
fire there in the 80s, so
Yeah.
it probably has to be knocked down. Like,
You need a motion for that?
I don't know, Mike, do I?
It's up to the committee. If you'd like a motion, you certainly could do one.
I don't think we have enough
Uh,
information, I guess.
Okay.
All right, so
Bring it back and do something formal at the next meeting?
yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Is that it? Public? Public? Ralph?
Good evening, Ralph Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. One thing for communications that we've talked about before is the website. And the new website is now up. You would hope it would be wonderful. My comments on that are a little more reserved in that regard. I think there's a couple or three aspects to a website. One is the technical, where you rely on IT people to build something that will work. There's a human factors, a design aspect of it, which one can debate for forever. And then there's a third aspect which I believe has been falling down. Namely, the township, and this is an administrative thing as much as anything, to have a process for keeping the information up to date and accurate. To start, there's some new graphics. The picture is probably at least 3 months old. It's not the current season, at least. But as I started looking through the information, innumerable inaccuracies and inconsistencies. I'll just mention a few that I happen to come across. Recycling. Can one recycle all kinds of plastics or only types 1 and 2? In one place it says 1 and 2, in another place it says all. The Environmental Commission. You appointed me at the beginning of the year to a 2-year term as an alternate. It says my 2-year term starts December 31st, 2020, which is really the end date. Little things. Affordable housing. Supposedly the plan is on the website. It's not. 2 pages of a chart that were shown here are, but the whole plan is not. These are things that, shall we say, frustrate the user, and trying to keep when are certain meetings happening, where's the agendas and whatnot.
So Ralph, can I make a recommendation?
Yep.
We have someone who works part-time, Chris Rottola. Do you have his email? It's on the website. Shoot him an email, give him some feedback. I think he would
But
take
I
it.
think it's more than Chris, though, because I think Chris only can do what he does with the information he gets. So I think there needs to be systematically, through the administration, the whole township, that people feed the correct information and all of the information to Chris or whoever is actually managing the site. So I think it's more than Chris.
Want me to talk?
Right?
I'm doing 2 jobs right now. I don't have time for the website.
Thanks, Ralph. Thanks for your comment.
Well,
Jenny?
This is a follow-up, Jenny Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. This is a follow-up on what Ralph had to say. The first picture is of Holmdel Park in October. If you go to the part of the website that says facilities, guess what? There's a picture of the farmhouse at the farm, not Bayonet Farm. Holmdel Park Farm. It's ridiculous. It's as if somebody put this website together who doesn't live here. They live in Lower Slopovia. And, somebody
It
who's
would
familiar with
have
the
been
town.
great to have somebody who lives in the town do that job. You're right, Jenny. I agree with you. Thank you. We'll work on
But
it.
it doesn't make us look very intelligent.
Okay, great. Back, sir, in the back, white shirt, tie.
I'm Dr. Ibrahim Mohammed.
Can you come to the mic, sir, and just say your name and address?
Yeah, my name is Mohammed Ibrahim. I'm the veterinarian who owns the veterinary hospital at 2094 Highway 35, next to the Exxon gas station. I bought the property about 33 years ago, and when I bought it, we had no problem. The township or the county or the DEP, they took care of any flood. We never flooded until recently, especially after somebody dumped a lot of rocks next to the culvert on the east side by the bagel place, and that made the situation bad. Every time it rains, it's a disaster. It floods, to the point where the garbage container is immersed. And last time, the water carried the containers to the creek and under the culvert. Every time it rains, we have to close the hospital and pay the employee for the day and call somebody to scrape 5 inches of mud after the water received. And last time we had to hire a company to get us the containers from the culvert. It's bad, and it's dangerous for the animals, dangerous for the clients, dangerous for the employee. I've been all 33 years old since I bought it. I've been paying taxes, and they always took care of it. They always called the DOT, but lately I don't know what happened. Nobody does anything. There was a Rutgers report lately that it made some recommendation.
Yeah. So I know that the county is ready for, I believe to proceed. For the county,
But that's on Palmer.
On
He's
Palmer.
talking, he's at the spay and neuter center. He's on
35,
35, yes.
but it's from the floods on.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about, and first let me just say that the women that work there are doing God's work, and that I applaud you for doing that, but the real issue is that it's a state issue, not the county. The county is addressing the issues on Palmer, the flooding, they're raising it, that's moving forward, but the state needs to come. What happened is over time, the last time it was done is over 20 years ago, they need to dredge out the Wet Cat Creek, they need DEP permits, there's a whole process. Now, unfortunately, the DOT has meetings in remote places. I've spoken to their engineering group, and they've promised that it's going to be on their agenda to get done. They don't move very quickly at the state. We are aware of it. There's nothing that the township can necessarily do because we don't have the right of way. We can't get in there and send in equipment. The state has to. We're working. All of us are working on that. We are trying to get that done. We hear you and we understand because it's very frustrating to see it. And I'm sorry that you're going through that. But the township doesn't have the authority to go in there and clean out that creek.
Well, they can send a letter. I mean, they're always there. And they also, the DOT, whenever they came, they only cleaned the culvert. And
Yeah, so Chief, based on that, can we get a letter out to the,
We did in January.
okay, well, let's send another
Another
one.
one.
I think we need to do something here. I mean, I apologize that you've had to go through this, and I know it's been incredible rain over the last few years.
And you got to remember too that this is one thing that Mayor Hines was saying, that last year we had a record 64 inches of rain in our area, and the average is 42. So we had record rains in the last couple of years, and that doesn't help you. It doesn't help your situation, but it's that we don't control the weather.
Well, you see, when I first bought the place, Holmdel mostly was wooded, and now with the overdevelopment and all these buildings, 2 million, 3 million,
Right.
and they took away all the base, that hold the water.
And one of the things that we found is that a lot of the runoff that comes to that creek does not originate in Holmdel. A lot of it does come from Middletown. And it's not something we can control. That's why we did cooperate. We did employ Rutgers Water Resource Team to come in and look for solutions, long-term solutions. But in the short term, the mayor will have our chief and get the letter to the DOT so they can get in there and make that.
And let's get a letter, and then, if you don't mind, sir, can you give your email information to Wendy, and we're gonna copy you on any correspondence. That way we communicate to you what's going on, what we hear back from the state.
Sure.
Okay?
Thank
Business card, sir?
I don't have a car, but I can write it to you.
Okay.
That would be great, thank you.
You could write there for me.
Kathy, do you have your hand up?
Yep.
Kathy Weber, 4 Duncan Drive. I believe the attorney may need to answer this. On the agenda item 2019-183, farming lease agreement for Cross Farm Park, my understanding is that that's a 5-year lease agreement for the sod farm, and that is part of the land of the proposed land swap. So my concern is if that may impact the ability to go through with that land swap or obligate the county, does this complicate matters?
I would
Since
note-
we're looking to move on this in the next 6 months.
Sure, I would note I did not handle this matter specifically because of a conflict, but my understanding is that that has been addressed by the attorney who did handle it.
Okay.
Kathy, we had a conversation with the county, and they are honoring that lease, and then they'll decide at the termination of that lease whether they renew it or not. But every indication is that they are going to renew it.
So they're good with that for the 5 years, so that doesn't complicate or cause any problems. Okay, great, thanks.
Anybody else from the public? Donna?
Donna Aranante, 13 Hayward Hills. Just in regard to the administrator, just so that it's on record once again, it sounds like a lot of sour grapes and, a conversation that I had with Michael Nicholas about wanting to sabotage everything, especially if he lost. Moving forward, that's exactly what it sounds like is happening here. And I think these are allegations, and just personally, my personal opinion is that I believe Donna should have a right to defend those allegations. Another thought is, Mr. Von Tempo, if you could just stop chewing your gum for a minute and look up at me. I have a question for you. The Library Foundation, those funds, I'm still looking for some kind, I think like the township had brought it up numerous times over the past year. And I'm just wondering if all of those funds have been allocated and if it's a public record right now.
I am not on the Holmdel Library Foundation.
Okay, so you had nothing to do with the Library Foundation?
That's how you asked. I am not in the foundation, so I can't answer any.
For the funding for that, I believe Amory was in charge of the funding for the library, so.
It's nothing to do with township business.
Okay, so then where do we get that information from, Mayor Hines? Or do you?
You're asking questions, ma'am, about a private entity. We've had these questions by other.
Okay, well, all right.
So, I mean, obviously, if there's a public records request, we respond to things that are involving the Township of Holmdel. You're referencing an independent 501c3. You can certainly reach out to them, but they're a private entity. They have no obligation to provide.
Okay. So, but just in terms of transparency, there's a lot of accusations being from, just love that word you're bringing up. Thank you.
Debbie Brew, 15 Cindy Lane. I just want to be clear, it seemed like when we were talking about the allegations that residents have reached out with emails of concerns about Donna Vieiro. Is that part of the investigation? Because I wasn't aware we are allowed to take place in these interviews or emails would be honored with our thoughts. Because I also had an experience with Mr. Nicholas in January of 2018, punching his fist on the desk of First Aid Building, telling me how much he hated Donna Vieiro for silly reasons, and that had nothing to do with why I was meeting with him. So if we're allowed to put in our own allegations and 2 cents about our feelings about her as a township administrator or how we think this investigation might be tainted, is that acceptable?
You are welcome at the podium like you're doing, Ms. Brew, to make your comment. You have a First Amendment right to do so, and the committee will certainly take your sentiment. But in terms of the discussion earlier, like I mentioned in my opening remarks, it's a personnel matter. It would ordinarily be discussed in executive session, and it would only be involving the Township Committee and its attorneys. But because the employees requested to discuss it publicly, we had the exact same discussion we'd have in a closed room, but we had it here in public. So, no, the process in reviewing these personnel matters does not involve the public, but you're certainly welcome to contribute your comment like you're doing.
Okay.
I have a question on that. Sean, have you interviewed any private residents other than employees or committee people?
It's been employees, committee people, and professionals.
Thank you.
Not residents.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public? No, seeing nobody else, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.